Welcome to the Phil Steele Plus Tour for Week 14 up for you today. I've got selections covering Friday, November 28th, Saturday, November 29th, putting it up early on Wednesday, so you have plenty of time to get in on these selections for the week. I got to tell you guys, we've had a lot of winning weeks recently. I've been pretty pumped up each and every week for the tour. Last week, the tour actually went 2-4 in the selections. I tell you, when we have the winning weeks, we've had them a lot, but a 2-4 week for the tour. Press Box went 5-3 on the week, so happy about Press Box winning. But the tour 2-4 last week, so that drops the record to 23-13-1 over the last 7 weeks. Still a great record. I'll take 23-13-1 anytime over 7 weeks, but always disappointed if there's a losing week on the tour. I like to have winners each and every week. The quick hitters went 2-3-1 last week. They're now 33-17, 66% winners over 9 weeks. So overall, the tour, by the way, the FCS selections 4-0 last week, including that Yale over Harvard winner. They are 62-34, 65% over 2 years. So if you go look, the selections, I'm not even counting the quick hitters, which are down here at 33-17, just the selections, 139-95, 60% in the regular season over 2 years. And so you get yourself 60% winners by taking the tour. And the good thing is, the one thing I want to accomplish is show you how to use Phil Steele Plus to its fullest each and every week. So let's get into some of those Phil Steele Plus features and get yourself into some winners for this week. We're going to start with my home away AGG game of the week. Now, the schedule predictor, if you take a look at that, last week actually also had a losing week at 6-9-1. Pretty rare for the season. 74-56 over 3 years, 150-105. And what I did last week, and I shouldn't have done it, were some of the categories I have like a 7-point differential equals a best bet. I lowered it a little bit, made it like 5.5 in some areas. So what we ended up with was 16 best bets. I was giddy because we kept having winning weeks on the schedule predictor. And we actually went 6-9-1 on the best bets last week, so I was disappointed in that. I'm going to tighten it back up this week. We're not going to have 16 best bets, but what we will have is some quality winners once again. I think we'll have a big winning week. I don't have all the records done this week. Naturally, I'm on all the award committees and trying to get this thing done by Wednesday as opposed to Thursday. I didn't get it all done, but the schedule predictor will be fully updated by Thanksgiving morning. So you'll have plenty of time to get into those Thursday, Friday, and Saturday games. It'll all be completely updated. All your best bets, all your records up top will be updated by Thanksgiving morning. So do keep that in mind when you get to the schedule predictor. But out here, the home away category is Clemson minus 5.4. And let me show you how we get to that. It takes the AGG, takes into account who you play at home, the yards per game, and especially who you play. You look at South Carolina, they are plus 62 yards per game, but they were plus 359 last week against Coastal Carolina. So that had a big account. Overall, their AGG is 106.9 at home. Clemson's actually plus 112 yards per game on the road, 116.6 level on the road. So you take that 116, you factor in their home edge, and it's more than 3 for South Carolina for the home edge. Comes up to Clemson by 5.4 points. And they are an underdog here. They're like a 3-point dog. So we're going to take Clemson as the home away AGG. It says outright by 5.4, and they're a 3-point dog. Now, we also add in, I always have something else. It's not just one factor that turns it into a pick. So when you click on the opponent, like here for South Carolina, this pops up on the page, and it gives you the complete series history. Well, the one thing I want to point out here, look over here at how the visitor is done in the series. Now, how the home column works is if it says win, that means that the home team won the game straight up. So you can see in the last 7 games, the home team has only won straight up once. Now, if the color is red, that means the team did not cover. So example here, let's take a look at this year. Clemson was at home against South Carolina. It says win. They did win the game 56-35, but they were minus 26, so they did not cover, which is why it's in red. And if you count this up, the visitor is 7-0 ATS in this series. So the visitor does extremely well. And if you look over here, Well, once again, if this is colored green, that means they won the game straight up. Red means they lost straight up. If this is colored green, that means they covered. If it's red, they did not cover. You don't have to do any math. You don't have to go, okay, but they were -7.5. They won by 9. Okay, they covered. No, this tells you right off the bat they covered. So anyway, at South Carolina cover, at South Carolina cover, at South Carolina cover, at South Carolina cover. They've covered their last 4 trips here. So you've got the home away AGG. And you also have the fact the visitors 7-0 ATS in this series. And let's also look at the fact when you go to Clemson, we could take a look at spread records. How has Clemson done when they're a dog of 3 or less? They are 3-2 in that section and 4-2 over 11 years if you count them as a dog at 3 or less. They did cover this year. So you've got that going for you. They're 4-2 as a dog over 11 years whenever a dog at 3 or less. And you also have going in your factor, let's go back to the schedule predictor for a minute, the revenge factor. Clemson lost a close one last year. South Carolina got a late touchdown to beat them at home. So you got the revenge factor going for them. Now, you count up here, you see all the greens. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 greens and a half green out here. Why is it 3.5? Well, it's because of here, the schedule strength. South Carolina has played the better schedule. So what I do in that aspect, I take the South Carolina cancels out this one, and then you've got 1, 2, 3.5 best bets on Clemson, which is why it's a 3.5 on Clemson. So your play there, let's take Clemson minus or plus the 3 over South Carolina. All right, your second matchup is a red-green game of the week. I love these red-green games. And for this one, we're going to put Penn State on the left. And we are going to put Rutgers on the right. Rutgers is the home team for this one. Now, the red-green factor is this. Last week, Terry Smith, the interim head coach of Rutgers, just decided to start running the football more. And look at what they've done the last 2 weeks. They ran the ball for 240 here, 231 here, and it figures because they have 2 of the best running backs in the country. And Kaytron Allen, who just became Penn State's all-time leading rusher, and Nicholas Singleton, who's like Penn State's number 5 all-time leading rusher, maybe number 4, but he actually set the record for touchdowns. So both of them are all-time career record holders at Penn State running the ball, and they've started to rely on the run game the last couple weeks. So look what they're going against here. Rutgers' rush defense the last 5 weeks. This says 247, 7.6, but let's bring this 415, 11.5 into the equation. Now all of a sudden, Rutgers has given up 8.3 yards per carry the last 5 weeks. You've got the green over here, 2 of the best running backs in the country, going against this rush defense here. That's a pretty solid combination. Also, Penn State is plus 53 yards per game. They hold their opponents at 53 yards per game below their average. If you look here, that's what this means. For example, let's take a look at the Indiana game. This says they held them to a season low. Wow, they held them to a season low, held them to a season low, held them to a season low. That's what the ranking means. They've held 5 opponents to a season low in yards here. Meanwhile, Rutgers allows opponents 75 above their average. They've given a number 10, number 11. They do have a season low against Norfolk State, but that's an FCS team, so that probably doesn't even count. Their next best effort was here, number 4 against Ohio State, where they gave up 430 yards. But they're allowing opponents 75 yards per game above their average, so a massive defensive edge here as well. We're going to take Penn State minus the 13 over Rutgers as your red-green game of the week. All right, let's go to your special teams game of the week. And for this game, we're going to put Buffalo on the right, and we're going to put Ohio on the left. Now, Buffalo's a 7-point underdog in this game, and they are at home. So a couple of factors to point out here. First of all, I mentioned that it is the special teams game of the week. The special teams game of the week now 4-2 here on the tour this year. And for this one, let's go to special teams, and right here. And we see that Buffalo comes in at number 8 special teams. Now it figures. They've got Pete Lembo as their head coach. Pete Lembo has been my special teams coordinator game of the year twice in his career. And Buffalo has a good special teams as always. Where's Ohio? You have to come all the way down here. Ohio is number 95. Wow, they're all the way down here at number 95. So if you've got 2 teams that are fairly even, you factor in the special teams, that's usually the chip that throws it over the total. That makes me like them even more. So let's look at the actual matchup. You can see they have a large special teams advantage here. We're going to put Ohio back here on the left. So a large special teams advantage for Buffalo here. And then let's go take a look at the series history. First of all, look at conference play. While Buffalo is 4-3 in conference play, they are plus 42. Ohio's plus 87. That's two pretty close games, pretty close yardage-wise. So you've got two teams fairly close in conference play. You've got Buffalo with the large special teams edge. And then when we look at the series history, the thing that stands out to me is when we come over here, we will see that Buffalo, the home team, is 7-0 straight up in ATS in this series. Buffalo, Ohio. When Buffalo is, well, the home team does extremely well in the series, as you just saw. So the home team does well in the series. You've got the fact, let's go back to that home team factor so I could show it to you even better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 and 1, 10, 1, 11, 1, 11, 2, 12 and 2 straight up, 11 and 3 ATS for the home team in this series. As you can see, there's been 4 outright upsets in the series as well. So the home team does extremely well. And you've got the fact that it's a special teams game of the week. We're going to go with Buffalo plus 7 over Ohio. Well, let's get to your first computer wanted to use play. I'm going to give you 2 this week. Now, they started out slow this year, as you recall, but they've won the last couple of weeks. So last year, the computer wanted to use it, wouldn't let it play, went 5-2. This year, it's up to 5-4. So we're looking at 10-6 over the last 2 years. And this is what PressBox has on the game. So we're going to bring up Miami of Florida against Pitt and bring it over here. Gives you the computer forecast. So it says Pitt actually outrushes Miami, and the yards are fairly close. Pitt's a 7-point dog in this game, and it's got Miami winning 24-23. Here's my complete write-up on the game. Tells you everything that's going on, who's quarterbacks, what happened last week, all this information's in there. It's got Miami winning the game 24-23. By the way, there are 2 weeks left inside the press box, and so the $20 an issue, it's $39 if you sign up to Inside the Press Box right now. But the sneaky part of that deal, if you sign up to Inside the Press Box for $39, is that you get Phil Steele Plus for the rest of the year, all the way through the Super Bowl for free, a $99 value. So if you're thinking of signing up for Phil Steele Plus, and by the way, we've got all the FCS information up here for the FCS playoffs. If you want to play those, you become an instant expert in the FCS. So basically what I'm saying to you guys is don't spend the $99 on Phil Steele Plus. Just sign up for my Inside the Press Box for the last 2 weeks of college. It's $39 right now, and you get Phil Steele Plus for free for the rest of the year. That's a tremendous deal. And you'll get all 67 games this week of Inside the Press Box, plus all of next week's championship games as well. It's a great deal, just $39. But this is what you get for every single write-up. There's more on the page. I only cut it down to this, but there's more on each page. You get 67 pages of Inside the Press Box with all this on it each week. And then when we look here for the Pitt game, there are other factors. My preseason line on the game was pick. The conference AGG is actually 1.3, so let's go take a look at that. As always, we put Pitt on the right, and let's do that. And we're going to move them over a little bit here, and we're going to put Miami on the left because Miami's on the road. It's going to be cold weather. It's going to be in the 30s. You got the Miami boys playing in cold weather. It's another advantage for Pitt. But let's go look at why that conference AGG is there. You see that Pitt is plus 86 yards per game in conference play and playing to an AGG of 115.1. Miami's plus 110, playing to an AGG of 117.8. Yet in the home field edge, it's actually got Pitt winning the game outright. As we look on the schedule predictor, it says Pitt by 1.3. Last time here, Pitt won the game by 32 points. That's what this column is about. So 1, 2, 3 best bets on Pitt. It is a overall best bet play this week on Pitt in this one. So it's the computer wanted to use. I wouldn't let it play. And it is to take Pitt plus 7 over Miami of Florida. All right, for your fifth one this week, we'll bring back a team that delivered for us on the tour 2 weeks ago, and that is James Madison. James Madison was disappointing last week against Washington State, but Washington State's got a hell of a defense. This game, I am calling my average or yards against opponent average play. All right, so let's go take a look at that. We'll go to back once again, go to the menu of Phil Steele Plus. Keep moving these pages around. I should have had a third page up here. Okay, so what I mean by this here is offense and defense, YPG versus opponent average. So this is, taking a look here, we've got James Madison is plus 61.2 on offense, plus 131 on defense, plus 192.4. That's number 7 overall. Come down here, look where Coastal is. Minus 58, minus 95, minus 156. All right, let me explain this chart to you. But as you can see, you have one of the best teams in the FBS against one of the worst teams in the FBS in this category. Now let me explain the category to you. I explained it to you a little bit, but we'll get into it here. Each game, we show you what they did against the opponent average. So like here, against App State, they held them to 256 yards below their average. That means App State in all their games besides James Madison gains 402 yards per game. But they held them to 146, which is 256 below their average. Add it all up for the season, they're holding opponents to 131 below their average. Coastal, on the other hand, look at all the red out here. They just gave South Carolina 579 points, Georgia Southern 633. Georgia Southern only averages 363 yards per game. They gave them 653, 290 above their average. They're allowing opponents 95 above. And same thing offensively. While Coastal's got these points over here, they're not blowing teams out as far as not putting up 500-600 yards of offense. They've only got 2 green games all year. They're actually gaining 58 yards less than what their opponents allow. James Madison 61 above. So we got that factor going for us. Generally, when you get to something like that, the schedule strength is different. But in this case, it's the same. James Madison, if you take a look at the schedule strength on this one, we come over here back to the menu, go to the schedule strength, and you see that James Madison actually comes up number 98, and Coastal is number 102. So they've got this massive edge in average, but they've actually played the tougher schedule. That amplifies it a little. Plus, James Madison's still fighting for that playoff spot. They need schedule points. I mentioned that to you 2 weeks ago when we used James Madison as the top play on the tour. And remember, they beat App State 58-10. Now they're taking on a Coastal Carolina team that they can beat. I like James Madison, minus 21.5 over Coastal Carolina. All right, let's get to your quick hitters for the week. And we'll start off with the first one, and it is a warm and fuzzy play. And we're going to take San Diego State over here, and we're going to take New Mexico over here. And New Mexico has been playing good football. They did, here was a backdoor cover by Colorado State. That was a little disappointing. Other than that, they've been playing good. But San Diego State has been a buzzsaw team. Now, when you look here, we have the logs on every single team. All you have to do, and we also have the logs on the FCS as well. Let me click back to the Phil Steele Plus menu. And let me do this. Let me open up another window here. And let's get to that Phil Steele Plus menu. All right, there's the menu. I can now go back to the team pages out here and have the menu in the middle. I might as well have done that in the start. All right, now I'm getting a little more rolling here. We're going to take a look at the logs. We got college ATS logs. You could get, we actually have logs on every FCS team if you want them, as that's especially valuable in the playoffs. Once again, the win-loss refers to the spread, not the actual final of the game. And here we actually have the score, the over-under, and the spread winner on every single game FCS. But let's take a look at the ATS logs for the FBS and come down here to San Diego State. Now I'll say this, San Diego State's on quite a spread run. And I have used them on the tour or in press box quite often. Win, 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 win. Now, the only week I was about to use them on the tour here against Hawaii because they were on this great spread streak. And then when I went up and looked at Hawaii, what I found there was Hawaii was on a 1, 2, 3, 4 spread streak heading into the San Diego State game. So Hawaii was on a spread streak. I didn't use San Diego State in that game. But other than that, other than the Hawaii game, San Diego State just wins and covers largely. 11-point favorite, they win 25-3. 6.5, or the Boise State 2-point favorite, win by 10. 10-point favorite, win by 17. 3-point favorite, win by 23. 7 by 34. That's a team I call like a buzzsaw team. They're not just winning; they're covering by large margins. So San Diego State, we used them last week on the tour, as you recall. So they've, and like I said, many weeks I've used them in press box or on the tour. They make me happy. They're winning. They're what I call a buzzsaw team. And in this particular game, San Diego State basically just has to win the game outright, and they are playing for a berth in the Mountain West title game if they win this game. San Diego State is not. Let me take a look and see if I can find the number for you on this game. San Diego. Oh, it's a Friday game. This is a Friday game, so keep that in mind. They're a 1-point favorite, so we're going to take San Diego State -1 in this one, and I believe it's also a schedule predictor play. Let's see if it is. San Diego State, yes, they have revenge. They lost last year as a favorite. Last time here, they won by 14, or they were a 14.5-point favorite and won by 24. So it is a 3 best bet and the schedule predictor as well. We're going to go with San Diego State -1 over New Mexico. All right, let's go to a series dominance play, and this is another Friday game. And it's Boise State, and they are playing Utah State on the road. So let's put Utah State on the right and Boise State on the left. And for Boise State, let's take a look at the series here. They're going to Utah State, and Boise has won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years in a row. They have covered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years in a row. And look at these wins. They've won by 32. They won by 35. They won by 19. They won by 24. They won by 29. They won by 35. They won by 9. They won by 27. I should have added this up for you. That would be a great addition to see. But they're averaging over a double digit, well over a 2-touchdown win in this series. And in this game, Boise State's only laying 3.5, so the spread's pretty cheap. It's a series dominance play. Boise's got 8 straight covers. We're going to go with Boise State. And one other thing about this game, and I'm going to bring it back to the San Diego State game against Fresno, which they lost 30-7. The key to that game was in the first quarter, the score was 7-7, and they had to go to the backup quarterback at that point. And Max Cutford wasn't completely prepared and hit 15 of 33 for 102. Then you go back, and I'm watching last Thursday, I was watching a replay of the Boise-San Diego State game, and the game was played in the rain, and they really didn't let Max Cutford throw an awful lot in that game. But then in the final series of the game, and I go through the play-by-play of every game, but this one I was watching a tape of it as well. Let's go back to this final series for Boise. Look at this. Cutford throws to the right for 19 yards. Cutford ran for 0. Cutford throws for 9. Cutford throws for 13. They all of a sudden let Cutford start to throw the ball. Here he throws for 14 yards. Comes down the field, and they did miss a field goal at the end. But I thought he looked good throwing the football. So last week when they were taking on Colorado State, I thought he would throw for over 200 yards, even though the previous game, they basically didn't even let him throw very much until that final drive. And look at this. Last week, he threw for 254 yards. So now you've got Riley, you've got Gaines, you've got a defense that's holding opponents to 67 yards below their average. You've got a Utah State defense that's allowing opponents 43 above. They now have confidence in Max Cutford at quarterback, and his stats are fairly similar to Mattson. He's not as much of a veteran, but I do like the way he's throwing the football, and I think he'll continue to improve with each start. So I like Boise State -3.5 there. All right, let's go to the last 4 weeks game of the week, and taking a little bit of a risk factor here. I know I told you this was a no CUSA zone, but I just couldn't pass this one up. It is a CUSA game. They've had some wacky results. Liberty's been involved in a bunch of them. In fact, look at these close losses they've had the last 3 weeks. Look at last week's game, for example. Well, let me put their opponent up here first. Let's get Kennesaw State up here. Yeah, Kennesaw State is trying to play for a berth in the CUSA title game. Liberty, by the way, their season, they've only got 4 wins. They have nothing to play for, right? Except it's their home final, and they're a good team. Despite their losing record in CUSA play this year, they are plus 69 yards per game. Kennesaw State, despite their big winning record, is plus 25 yards per game. They have had a lot of close wins, games where they've been outgained. Look at Liberty last week. Liberty was playing Louisiana Tech. They were winning this thing 28-7, and they ended up losing in overtime. So a tough loss once again. They had the close loss against FIU on the road, a game they outgained them. They had the close loss to Missouri State. They were plus 66 yards. Ended up losing that one late in the game. Missouri State getting a 13-yard touchdown pass with 27 seconds left. You go back to, let's see which game it was. One of their games. Let me see what Louisiana Tech wasn't the game. Louisiana Tech had the late comeback. And then the FIU game, Liberty once again was winning this game. And then FIU got it in overtime. So they've had their opportunities this year. The thing that I like is they're a rare home underdog. Let's go take a look at how often they're a home underdog. 5-2 as a home underdog. And they have not been a conference home underdog this year. So it's very rare. 11 years they're a underdog, 5-2 in that record. Add it all up. I like Liberty plus 2.5 over Kennesaw State in this one. Look for the 3. As you know, half points can be very valuable in these games. Let me make sure it is still 2.5 as I do this. Yep, 2.5 right now. There's not a 3 out there, but try to get that 3 if it becomes available later in the week. But we're going to take Liberty to pull the upset. And the last 4 weeks, I don't know if this one's a schedule predictor play or not. It is. The last 4 weeks, I told you this thing's going to get red hot. I did open the parameters a little bit. It could have had a better record than 8-6. Sorry about that, guys. But Liberty is a play here. Liberty's a 6-point play, and they're the home underdog. All these factors going in. If we take a look at the last 4 weeks, they're playing to an AGG of 95.5. They're playing to an AGG of 93.1. And Liberty is a home underdog. So you add in the home edge, you're looking at just a 3-point edge, you're making 98.5. But I think I give Liberty a little more. So that's a nice factor as well. Last 4 weeks play. It is a last 4 weeks game of the week, and it is on Liberty, plus 2.5 over Kennesaw State. And as mentioned, they are an overall best bet here. They were a 4 best bet. The last time that they met last year, Liberty won by 32. Or no, Liberty was a 32-point favorite and got beat outright. They're playing with legitimate revenge here. I actually made that a Liberty 4 revenge play in this one because of how big of a favorite they were last year, 32 points, and lost outright. It's also a conference AGG play. As I pointed out, they're actually better yardage, should be favored in the game according to that. So it's a 4 best bet play on Liberty. All right, another red-green game. And we're going to take a look at Georgia Southern is going on the road against Marshall. Now, I used Georgia Southern here on the tour last week. They were really disappointing against Old Dominion last week. And now they go on the road against Marshall. Now, one of the reasons I liked Old Dominion last week was because they're so good at home. But they're not good on the road. Well, they weren't good at home last week. But on the road, lost to Arkansas State by 10, got blown out by James Madison, lost to USC, lost to Fresno State. On the road, they are lose by 20 points per game, and they're minus 205 yards per game. That could be a red-green factor here, and the fact that if you look at how these guys do at home, they are 98.2, and they are 83.6 away. So your AGG says Marshall by like 18. Your home-away AGG, I should say. Let me see if this made the schedule predictor thing here. It did. So your home-away AGG is Marshall by 18.8. Your conference AGG is Marshall by 14.6. Let's look at that. In conference play, they're plus 32 yards per game. They are minus 78. They're playing to an 87 level. They're playing to a 98 level. That's 11 yet in the home field edge. But here's where the red-green comes into account. If you follow Georgia Southern this year, their weakness has been rush defense. On the road, they're giving up 6.6 yards per carry. Look at all this red here. They struggle when teams run the football well against them. Look at Marshall. Look at the green here running the football. That's what they want to do. Carlos Del Rio Wilson, Antoine Roberts, Michael Allen, Joshua Barbie, and they all have good AGG, or YPCs, I should say. He averages 5.6, 4.9, 5.2, 5.6. They're taking on a defense that gives up 6.6 yards per carry on the road. Marshall will have its way on the ground. Marshall's a good home team. Georgia Southern is not a good road team. So you got a lot of good factors here. It's your red-green game number 2. Marshall, minus 8 over Georgia Southern. I love red-green games. And finally, we're going to wrap it up with a computer wanted to use play. And SMU was a computer play last week. Let's get SMU on the right. SMU's actually on the left for this one. They're playing Cal on the road. So let's get SMU on the left for the ACC. And let's get Cal on the right for the ACC. And last week, the computer had a best bet on SMU. As I mentioned, the press box best bets went 5-3 last week. The computer best bet was on SMU 38-6 with a 485, 228 yard edge. Absolutely dominated. At the half, it was 21-6 with a 250, 125 yard edge. SMU dominated. So the computer said, hey, I want to use SMU again. In fact, the computer's score in this game, let's open it up, is SMU 30-12. And SMU in this one is minus 13 or 13.5. I've got it 31-10 as well. The last 4 weeks, AGG has them by 15.2. If SMU wins, they get to the ACC title game, and Cal just fired their head coach on top of it. So the computer wanted to use it. I didn't want to overuse the best bets. The computer's got 4 in there. I didn't want to make 5 or 6. I didn't want to overdo it like I did on the predictor. So it's another game where the computer wanted to use. I wouldn't let it. Last year, these plays went 5-2. They're on a little bit of a hot streak now. They're up to 5-4 on the year, 10-6 over 2 years. So your computer wanted to use, but I wouldn't let it play, is SMU minus the 13 or 13.5 against California. At this time, I'd like to wish you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving weekend. And I want to appreciate you taking the tour with me. I put it up early for you, so you had plenty of time. Maybe you got some time on Thanksgiving Day to look it over. It's up and available for you right now. And I'll be back with you next week with the conference championship one. And I tell you what, guys, next week I'll start having an NFL play each week. There's so much information on Phil Steele Plus. I'll start looking at the NFL information and putting it up for you as well. But thank you for taking the Phil Steele Plus tour. FCS plays 4-0 last week. There will be FCS best bets in this week's Inside the Press Box. Remember what I said? $39 gets you the last 2 issues of Press Box. Press Box will have the FCS up there for you as well. So make sure you check that out. And I should have some FCS free plays for you on Saturday morning or Friday night. Thanks for taking the tour.